and logistical audits following recent attacks on military formations in Beni Sheikh and Mongono in Borno State. The resolution passed during plenary today mandates an in-depth review of the circumstances surrounding the assaults, including an assessment of equipment adequacy and adherence to rules of engagement. Speaking on the motion moved by Senator Tahir Mongono, Senator Abdoningi called for the suspension of all political activities until insecurity is adequately addressed in affected areas.
Is either to suspend all political activities across this country or look at the frontline states of Borno, of Plateau, of Bauchi, of Benue, of Niger, of Sokoto, of Kebbi, and part of Kano, and suspend all political activities until we are sufficiently settled that these security issues we are dealing with. We are not dealing with these security issues at all. And I'm not blaming anybody. I am saying we are not doing it. We cannot every time come here and lament.
The Senate also urged the military to investigate allegations of civilian harm during operations with a view to ensuring accountability and preventing future occurrences. The lawmakers warned that the resurgence of violence against both military installations and civilian communities threatens national security, food systems, and ongoing efforts to resettle internally displaced persons in Borno State. In the meantime, Senator representing Anambra North Senatorial District, Tony Nwoye, has been appointed as the new minority whip of the Senate following a series of defection to the All Progressives Congress. Nwoye was unanimously chosen by the Senate Minority Caucus to assume the position after his predecessor, Senator Ositango, defected from the People's Democratic Party to the APC today. Senator Nwoye was elected into the Senate in 2023 on the platform of the Labour Party before defecting to the African Democratic Congress in late 2025. In a related development, Senator Anthony Siako Yaro, representing Gombe South and chairman of the Senate Committee on Public Accounts, Senator Aliyu Wadada, also formally confirmed their move to the APC. The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, boasted about the APC's dominance within the red chambers and noted that more lawmakers are expected to defect to the ruling party.
I know that the APC, you have a right to jubilate. I don't know how many now, but I think we are now about 87 out of 109 senators. Unfortunately, we lost 3 and elections have not been held. So actually out of 106, we are now about 87. The 20-something or so remaining are still negotiating with me. And when the negotiation is completed, I will let you know. So we can move as one.
The latest defections bring the total number of APC lawmakers in the red chambers to 91 out of 109. Elsewhere, the Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered the remand of 6 defendants in the custody of the Department of State Services after they were arraigned on a 13-count charge bordering on alleged terrorism. At a sitting today, the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi SAN, informed the court that the charge was ready and sought leave to have it read to the defendants. Proceedings were briefly stalled after the 3rd defendant informed the court that his counsel was indisposed, while counsel to the 6th defendant said his client understood only Arabic and Hausa, prompting the court to stand down the matter to secure an interpreter. All 6 defendants took their pleas and denied the allegations and pleaded not guilty to the 13 counts. Following the arraignment, the prosecution applied for their remand in DSS custody and urged the court to grant an accelerated hearing of the case, a request that was not opposed by the defense counsels. Ruling, the trial judge ordered an accelerated hearing and directed that the defendants be remanded in DSS custody with access to their lawyers and adjourned the matter till April 27th for the commencement of trial. Moving to political litigation, the Supreme Court has reserved judgment in the appeal by the National Chairman of the African Democratic Congress, David Mark, challenging the jurisdiction of the court to intervene in the internal affairs of the ADC. A 5-member panel of the Apex Court, led by Justice Garba Mohammed, disclosed this shortly after lawyers representing parties adopted their briefs of argument for and against the appeal. Counsel to David Mark, Jibrin Okutekpa SAN, urged the Apex Court to allow the appeal and hold that the trial court lacked the jurisdiction to entertain a suit bordering on the ADC's internal matters.
The Federal High Court and even the Court of Appeal have no jurisdiction because it borders on internal affairs of a political party. And the order to go back to the Federal High Court for a hearing, we also challenged it because why should we go back to a court that we know has no jurisdiction? And that's why we fought the Supreme Court, for the Supreme Court to invoke its general powers to take over the matter from the Federal High Court and dismiss it for the very fact and obvious fact that the Federal High Court has no jurisdiction. And the Supreme Court, all the materials needed to do that is already before the Supreme Court. The original summons is before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has the power to take over the matter.
However, counsel to Nafiu Gombe, Robert Mukbero SN, however, urged the Apex Court to reject the appeal and affirmed the judgment of the lower court, which held that the appellant's case was premature and dismissed it. Earlier, speaking after the court session, the spokesperson of the ADC, Bolaji Abdullahi, expressed hope that the rule of law and democracy will prevail.
But we are very confident that the case will be decided in our favor because an established case. Incidentally, like was reported, one of the judges were actually among the judges that laid the precedent on which we rely for our case. Like we have repeatedly reiterated, what is at stake is no longer about ADC. What is at stake is the very democracy of Nigeria. And those who want to ensure that they eliminate multi-party democracy in this country. So it's our collective fight. It's a fight for the very survival of Nigeria itself.
A 3-member panel of the appellate court had dismissed the appeal of David Mark on the grounds that the appeal was not only premature but also brought without leave of the trial court. Meanwhile, a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, Bode George, says the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, should apologize for comments he made on the internal crisis of the African Democratic Congress. Gbajabiamila, during a ceremony hosted by factional ADC chieftain Lekki Abejide, encouraged the lawmaker to remain in the ADC and mount pressure on the other factions of the party.
I've also seen the video of my younger brother, Femi Gbadura. People make mistakes. I did not, under any circumstances, believe that he will make that kind of mistake. It was
I know you to be a committed party man. I know you to be a fighter. I know you to be someone who does not like to be cheated. So please, my charge to you is to stay in that same ADC. Fight them. Don't mind the former governor said that you should come and join ADC. No. Stay in ADC. Win your re-election in ADC as you will. Bring Gombe, what's his name again? Bring him. We will support him. Bring him. Do the right thing. You are a fighter.
Reacting to the statement, Chief Bode George described such comments as a monumental political mistake that should not be allowed to slide or swept aside, and insisted that the former lawmaker must apologize.
I've also seen the video of my younger brother, Femi Gbadura. People make mistakes. I did not, under any circumstances, believe that he will make that kind of mistake. It was utterly wrong, and he must apologize to the public on that statement. That is my stand. He is my brother. I cannot denounce him, but what he said, yes, human beings, once in a while some mistake. But that was a monumental mistake, political mistake. He should apologize for making that comment publicly.
The ADC is grappling with internal disputes with the Lekki, Abejide and Nafiu Bala Gombe side battling the leadership of the David Mark faction. And now, the presidency has clarified that former Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Olu Alo, and the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Musa Dengiwa, resigned from their positions and were not sacked. In a statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, it was explained that Edo tendered his resignation to President Bola Tinubu, citing health reasons. Dengiwa was also said to have voluntarily stepped down, expressing appreciation to the President for the opportunity to serve in the Federal Executive Council. Ononuga noted that the clarification became necessary to counter reports suggesting that the ministers were dismissed and described such claims as inaccurate. Back here in Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu says the state generated about 1.3 trillion naira in internally generated revenue in 2024 and attributed the growth to sustained investment in digital tax systems and expanded tax administration. Sanwo-Olu made this known at the opening of the 159th meeting of the Joint Revenue Board in Lagos, where he described the figure as modest but significant. According to the governor, the Apapa Port Complex and Tinkan Island Port handle over 70% of Nigeria's maritime trade. He revealed that in the first quarter of 2025 alone, Apapa Port processed goods worth 17 trillion naira, which represented 86% of the country's export throughout. The governor also disclosed that the federal government recently signed a £746 million agreement with the United Kingdom to modernize both ports, which is expected to strengthen Lagos' position as West Africa's leading maritime gateway. Sanwo-Olu reaffirmed the state government's commitment to supporting national development through collaboration, policy alignment, and data sharing. In the meantime, the Lagos State government says the Red Line Rail project will significantly boost mass transit capacity with the ability to move up to 500,000 passengers daily when fully operational. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu disclosed this today while speaking with journalists on the sidelines of the 159th meeting of the Joint Revenue Board held in Lagos. Sanwo-Olu said the state had completed the sign-off process for the Red Line rolling stock during a recent official visit abroad and added that the rail system would represent a major upgrade over the Blue Line. According to him, the Blue Line operates 4-car trains, while the Red Line will run 8-car trains and transport up to 500,000 passengers daily along the Agbado-Oyingbo corridor at full capacity. He added that the ongoing development in the waterways sector included the Omieko project, which would introduce high-capacity electric boats to improve water transport. Sanwo-Olu assured that by next year, residents would begin to see increased activities on the waterways as part of efforts to improve mobility, productivity, and revenue generation in the state. Elsewhere, Lagos State government has clarified concerns on the issue of levies charged for installing solar power systems within a government housing estate. The clarification follows a viral clip where a resident raised concerns over an alleged demand by some officials for payment relating to the installation of a solar power system. In response, the Senior Special Assistant on Media to the Governor, Wale Ajetumobi, said the video making the rounds was misleading and based on a misunderstanding of the state's guidelines for social housing estates. According to him, the state government does not charge general residents for solar installation permits, but the policy applies specifically to occupants of government-owned social housing estates. It said tenants in such estates are required to obtain approval and pay administrative fees for any structural alteration, including solar power installations, as part of estate management regulations. Ajitumobi noted that the enforcement officers seen in the video were part of the monitoring and compliance unit of the ministry, acting to ensure adherence to improved estate regulations. And still in Lagos State, the Lagos State government says the reintroduced monthly environmental sanitation exercise will definitely commence on Saturday, April 25th, with movement restrictions and enforcement measures in place across the state. In a statement today, the Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, said movement will be restricted between 6:30 and 8:30 in the morning to allow residents clean their homes, surroundings and drainage channels. Wahab added that enforcement teams comprising officials from relevant agencies, including the Environmental Protection Agency, Kick Against Indiscipline and the Waste Management Authority, will carry out inspections before and after the exercise to ensure compliance. He warned that defaulters would be sanctioned in line with the Lagos State Environmental Management and Protection Law of 2017. The Commissioner urged residents to cooperate with the initiative and described it as a collective effort to build a cleaner, safer and more sustainable Lagos. There are more stories coming our way. On sports, Chelsea sack Liam Rosinha after 5 straight defeats. On the entertainment scene, Blessing CEO apologizes, offers refunds over cancer controversy.
Which kind of be this? When this Nigeria won't vote, see how should just scatter. Oh my way, don't turn from God, I beg.
You vote last election. You vote.
Vote asal. You know as I dey be now. You know street. No man know at time no day now. Vote asal. Say country dey improve.
Guy, if I no vote, I no get the power.
Thank you for keeping it locked on to News Express on Adami Mogo 93.1 FM. Now, on the foreign scene, Iran seized 2 ships in the Strait of Hormuz today, tightening its grip on the strategic waterway after U.S. President Donald Trump called off attacks with no sign of peace talks restarting. Iran's semi-official Tasnim news agency said the Revolutionary Guards had seized 2 vessels for maritime violations and escorted them to Iranian shores. It was the first time that Iran seized ships since the war began at the end of February. The Revolutionary Guards also warned that any disruption to order and safety in the strait would be considered a red line. Trump said on social media yesterday that the US had agreed to a request by Pakistani mediators to hold attack on the country on Iran until such a time as their leaders and representatives can come up with a unified proposal. Trump also maintained a U.S. Navy blockade of Iran's trade by sea, but Iran considers the blockade an act of war and has said that as long as it continues, it will not lift its closure of the strait. To sports, Chelsea have sacked head coach Liam Rosinha after less than 4 months in charge, following a 3-0 defeat to Brighton and Hove Albion. Rosinha joined from Strasbourg on a 5.5-year deal following the departure of Enzo Maresca on New Year's Day. Despite the long-term contract, Chelsea moved to terminate his appointment after just 23 matches, with Callum McFarlane named interim head coach until the end of the season. The decision follows a poor run of form, with Chelsea losing 5 consecutive Premier League matches without scoring. The slump has significantly dented the club's hopes of qualifying for next season's UEFA Champions League. Chelsea dropped to 7th in the table after the defeat at the Amex Stadium, behind Liverpool FC, who currently occupy the final Champions League qualification spot with a game in hand. On the entertainment scene, controversial self-acclaimed relationship expert Blessing CEO has apologized to Nigerians amid controversy surrounding her health claims, while insisting she did not intentionally mislead the public. She had come under scrutiny over allegations that she claimed to be battling stage 4 cancer and had solicited financial support for treatment. In a video shared on our official Instagram page, Blessing CEO addressed her followers, expressing regret over the confusion and backlash generated by the situation. She also pledged to make her medical records public as part of efforts to clarify her condition and document her health journey. Additionally, she assured donors that anyone who contributed funds and wishes to be refunded would be accommodated upon request. And that's the size of News Express on Adami Mogo 93.1 FM this evening. But here's a quick recap of the biggest stories. We confirmed that President Bola Tinubu has asked the Senate to screen and confirm Mutika Rabe Derba as Minister of Housing and Urban Development. We also told you that the Senate directed the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi, and other service chiefs to carry out a comprehensive operational and logistical audit following recent attacks on military formations in Beni Sheikh and Monguno in Borno State. Finally, we told you that the Lagos State government said the Red Line project will significantly boost mass transit capacity with the ability to move up to 500,000 passengers daily when fully operational. News Express was produced by Ayo Adike. I am Sam Olugbemini. Thanks for listening. Good evening. Coming up shortly is Akoto Iroi.
See why KTY so yesterday. Which kind of be this? When this Nigeria won't vote, see how should just scatter. All my way don't turn brown. God, I beg.
You vote last election. You vote.
Vote asal. You know as I dey be now. You know street. No man know our time no day now. Vote asal. Say country dey improve.
Guy, if I no vote, I no get the power. Your voice is now your power.
I don't cock yourself. Sell your vote, just sell your future, but sell your birthright. How much divide them by 4 years? How much that?
Your vote and your power, no door. Make we choose leaders wey sabi. Your PVC, your future, no waste time.
No sell your vote.
Ẹ wò bó ṣe ń dún sétí aráyé, bó ṣe ń dún tókì tó sẹ́wẹ́wẹ́ sétí aráyé. Adami Mogo ìkànnì ológo, rédíò alálùbáríkà lẹ́ ń gbọ́. Adami Mogo ìkànnì ológo, rédíò alálùbáríkà lẹ́ ń gbọ́. Àjùwọ̀n lọ máa ṣe wí lọ́jọ́. Adami Mogo FM ti di araba o. Lekki phase 1 la wà nílùú Èkó. Ìgbádùn tí yín o ṣóun ní wàhálà ti wà ó. Adami Mogo ìkànnì ológo, rédíò alálùbáríkà lẹ́ ń gbọ́ ó. Adami Mogo ìkànnì tí gbogbo olóríire ń gbọ́.
Àsìkò ìròyìn ti tó, bóyá ẹ jẹ́ ká jọgbọ́n, lónílé lálejò bóyá, lọ́mọdé lágbà ó, ẹ mú kalẹ̀ owó, ẹ mú kalẹ̀ ọmọ. Ìròyìn tó jẹ́ ojúlówó rédíò yìí lẹ ti máa gbọ́. 93.1 FM ìkànnì tó tayọ, Lekki la máa fi kalẹ̀ sí nígboro Èkó. Adami Mogo FM bóyá. Adami Mogo, no, let it go.
ààrẹ bọ́lá tinubu ti pe ilé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin wa lórílẹ̀‐èdè nàìjíríà láti ṣe àyẹ̀wò fínífíní lórí ìdámà fún ìyànsípò gẹ́gẹ́ bí mínísítà. ilé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin lórílẹ̀‐èdè yìí ti pa á láṣẹ fi ikọ̀ ọmọ ológun lórílẹ̀‐èdè nàìjíríà láti ṣe àbẹ̀wò tó ń ti àyẹ̀wò fínífíní lórí ìkọlù gbígbóná ti boko haram léyìí tó wáyé ní ìpínlẹ̀ borno. gómìnà babájídé sanwó-olu ti fi ọ̀rọ̀ léde wípé ọkọ̀ ojú irin aláwọ̀ pupa lẹ́yìn tí ó jẹ́ ti gbàlódé yóò ní agbára láti kó tó 1,000 lọ́nà 500 èrò lójúmọ́. ẹ kúrọ̀lẹ́ ẹ̀sìnkú iṣẹ́ látòrọ̀ àkótó ìròyìn ló láǹfààní láti máa dé sí etí gbọ̀nyìn ní ìkànnì àdámímógò 93.1 FM Yétúndé Àtàndá lóníròyìn yín ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ ìròyìn ọ̀hún rèé ẹ ṣeun bẹ́ẹ̀ tí ń bá wa kà lọ. ààrẹ bọ́lá tinubu ti pe ilé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin láti ṣe àyẹ̀wò fínífíní àti ìfìdímúlẹ̀ mustaq rabi dama gẹ́gẹ́ bí mínísítà tí ó mọ̀dúrí lórí ilégbèé àti ìdàgbàsókè ìlú. bákan náà nínú àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ lẹ́yìn tí wọ́n kọ lóní tààrà sí ààrẹ ilé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin Godswill Akpabio lẹ́yìn tó kà jáde níwájú ilé ìgbìmọ̀ tó sì gbé sí iwájú gbogbo ìgbìmọ̀ nílé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin fún àgbéyẹ̀wò fínífíní. ààrẹ bọ́lá tinubu bákan náà nínú àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ ọ̀hún ló ti ní kí ilé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin kó fi ìfìdímúlẹ̀ ìyànsípò Lamido Abubakar Yugoda gẹ́gẹ́ bí igbákejì fún alága lẹ́yìn tí ó mọ̀dórí lórí báńkì ẹja lónìbù wa lórílẹ̀‐èdè nàìjíríà tá a mọ̀ sí CBN. bákan náà nínú àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ ọ̀hún síwájú sí i òun náà ni ààrẹ ilé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin ló ti jẹ́ kí ó di mímọ̀ bí ó ti tẹ́ pẹpẹ rẹ̀ síwájú ìgbìmọ̀ tó ń dorí lórí àpò àsùnwọ̀n ìfowópamọ́ àti ìdókòwò tó ń ti owó ná lórílẹ̀‐èdè nàìjíríà pẹ̀lú ìgbèdéke wípé àwọn ìgbìmọ̀ yìí wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ jábọ̀ láàrin ọ̀sẹ̀ kọ́dọ̀ndọ̀. Tinubu náà ló ti yan Benedict Umeno gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọ̀kan lára àwọn ìgbìmọ̀ lẹ́yìn tí yóò mọ̀ rí sí àjọ bìrẹ́ò tí ń ṣojú fún ẹkùn ìdìbò ìlà oòrùn ti gúúsù wa lórílẹ̀‐èdè nàìjíríà. nínú ìpàdé lẹ́yìn tó gbóná girigiri tó wáyé nílé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin àgbà wa síwájú sí i. ilé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin àgbà lórílẹ̀‐èdè nàìjíríà ti pe ọ̀gá pátápátá káfàtà fún ikọ̀ aláàbò CDS ọ̀gágun olúfẹ́mi olúyẹdẹ láti rí i wípé ó ṣe iṣẹ́ takuntakun àti iṣẹ́ tó gbòòrò pẹ̀lú ìwádìí ọlọ́rìn kìnìún lórí ìkọlù gbígbóná lẹ́yìn tó wáyé sí àwọn ikọ̀ ọmọ ológun Bini Sheikh ìyẹn ní Muguno ní ìpínlẹ̀ Borno. eléyìí náà ló wáyé nínú ìpàdé ọ̀hún tí wọ́n ti gba ìyẹ̀wò bí ẹni gbàgbọ́ tí lónìí pẹ̀lú ìpọ̀dandan àgbéyẹ̀wò lórí tó ṣokùnfà ìkọlù gbígbóná náà títí tó fi mọ́ lílọ síbẹ̀ àti láti ṣe àyẹ̀wò fínífíní àti pípèsè irinṣẹ́ lẹ́yìn tó kájọ ẹ̀ fún ìtẹ̀síwájú. bákan náà nínú ìpàdé lẹ́yìn tó wáyé ọ̀hún lẹ́yìn tí sẹ́ńdẹ̀tọ̀ Taha Muguno àti sẹ́ńdẹ̀tọ̀ Abdul Niji tí ó ti pè fún kí wọ́n wágun dákun fún nǹkan tó bá ní í ṣe pẹ̀lú ti òṣèlú lọ́wọ́ tá a wà yìí títí di ìgbà tí ètò ààbò tí ó ráyè fẹsẹ̀ walẹ̀ dáadáa níbi tí ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ láabi ọ̀hún ti wáyé. ilé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin ọ̀hún náà ló tún wá rọ ikọ̀ ọmọ ológun lórílẹ̀‐èdè nàìjíríà láti ṣe ìwádìí ọlọ́rìn kíniwí pàápàá jùlọ lórí àwọn aráàlú léyìí tí wọ́n bá farapa nínú ìkọlù ọ̀hún kí wọ́n sì ṣe àgbéyẹ̀wò tàkóyawọ́ láti rí wípé wọ́n dóòlà irú ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ láti má wáyé mọ́ lọ́jọ́ iwájú. ilé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin òun náà ló wá ṣe ìkìlọ̀ lóní gbọ̀ngbọ̀n láti rí wípé wọ́n wá agundẹ́kùn fún nǹkan tó ní í ṣe pẹ̀lú ìgbésùnmọ̀mí àti ìwà ọ̀daràn léyìí tí ó lè mọ́ kó hílàhílò bá àwọn aráàlú tàbí àgbègbè tàbí tó lè mọ́ dúnkùkùlajà mọ́ ètò ààbò. wọ́n jẹ́ kí ó di mímọ̀ wípé ibikíbi tí ètò ààbò bá ti fẹsẹ̀ wálẹ̀ dáadáa irú ìṣòro tó máa ń dojúkọ wọn òun náà ni kí ó má sí àtijẹ àtimu àti wípé kí ó má sí ibùgbé lẹ́yìn tó dẹrùn. wọ́n wá jẹ́ kí ó di mímọ̀ wípé gbogbo akitiyan lẹ́yìn tó ń tẹ̀ síwájú yìí òun náà ní láti rí wípé àwọn ogun lè ń dé wọ́n rí ibi tí wọ́n tẹ̀dó sí padà ní ìpínlẹ̀ Borno. iléeṣẹ́ ààrẹ lórílẹ̀‐èdè nàìjíríà ti yànnàná ọ̀rọ̀ kan lẹ́yìn tó ń já ràn-ìràn káàkiri lórílẹ̀‐èdè yìí pàápàá jùlọ lórí mínísítà tó rí sí ẹ̀ka owó ọ̀nà àti bákan náà tó ń ṣe àkóso lórí ètò ọrọ̀ ajé arákùnrin wálé ẹ̀dùn tó ti mínísítà tó ń rí sí ọ̀rọ̀ orí ìgbé àti ìdàgbàsókè àwùjọ ahmed musa dangewa níbi àwọn méjèèjì bí wọ́n ti ṣe kọ̀wé sílẹ̀ kúrò lórí ipò wọn tí iléeṣẹ́ ààrẹ sì yànnàná wípé kì í ṣe wípé wọ́n wagun dágun tàbí wọ́n fọwọ́ òsì júwe